Today is actually my birthday. Today is the 13th of May. This video will get uploaded way later. I will predict that this video will get uploaded by the end of June or maybe in July. We'll see about that. But as I said, I am in my 20s now, and everyone keeps on putting a lot of pressure on people just because they're in their 20s, because everyone says, oh my god, it's going to be the best time of your life, make sure to spend it wisely, to spend it in the right way of spending it. And you always get expected to achieve certain type of goals in that stage, and you also need to achieve a certain type of social circle and a certain type of relationship. And I feel like people get put under pressure so much, even though it is just a decade of your life that you can easily do in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on and on. So I'm kind of confused why people put their 20s on a pedestal. I might make an additional video to it, but I do not know if I will actually do it. But there's actually a state that no one talks about that I think is way more crucial than the 20s for your development and for your identity and everything, and it is actually the teens. And since I do not have a 1 in front of my age anymore, I know it feels really odd to me still. I still think that I'm 19 instead of 20. I wanted to make a video on things that I wish I would have known in my teens, or things that I wish I would have focused on in my teens instead of other stuff that I did. And for this video, will just be your older sister and give you all the advice that I gathered from my experience in that stage of life. And I am a psychology student. I study psychology in my 2nd semester, so I will always combine it a little bit with some information that I gathered from lectures or exam preparation. Short disclaimer, in this video I may make some references from my own life and I will be mentioning some people, but I do not mean to harm them and I do not mean to talk badly about them. I know that we all have been young at that time and that I also made a lot of mistakes that I regret on doing, and I do not mean to blame anyone for what they did to me, etc. But I will name a few things just for teaching purposes and giving an analogy for certain kind of facts that I say to just support them. First fact. Okay, I cannot speak, but my younger self would have hated me if I would have said it to their face. Like, they would genuinely refuse to believe that. But being in a relationship should actually be the least thing that you should honestly care about. And do not get me wrong, I do not mean that you should say no to every person that comes along your way, or that you should just refuse to date or have a crush or whatever. That is not what I mean, but it should be not that high up on your priorities than it probably is, and I can predict that because I was the same. And it does make sense that we crave for relationships, especially evolutionary, but also especially for us women, because we get also socialized in that way. Like, you are a child and you grow up with all these Disney movies, and for me it was also the Grimm's fairy tales, but a lot of them got also put into Disney movies. You basically see a princess just like Cinderella or Snow White that gets treated poorly, and everyone is just mean to her, but she's still like the sweetest person alive. And then there's like a prince who's like really handsome and rich, and everybody has like a crush on this prince, and then the prince falls madly in love with the gray mouse, with the person that was always overlooked, and then she lives a happy ever life as a princess, and all her problems are solved, she never has problems anymore, and etc. And then you move on to your teens, and then you grew up with certain books and movies as well, such as Twilight, there's After Passion, or also especially The Kissing Booth. Especially, I feel like a lot of people including myself, were obsessing over the kissing booth, even though it was like so problematic on so many ways. But what basically happens there is that there's like always a really handsome, mysterious, and really rude and disrespectful guy. And everybody wants that guy. Like, so many people have a crush on that guy. That guy may be a fuckboy, maybe a player. That does not count for Twilight, but for all the other things. And then there's a girl, and she is more like 90% likely to be brunette and shy, and she's like so into books, and she does not wear makeup, and she's just not like the other girls, and no one really finds her attractive or crushes on her. But then obviously the dickish but really handsome, dark, attractive guy falls madly in love with her, and he lets go of all his toxic behavior and all of his playing aroundness because he just madly falls in love with this girl. And then again, all the problems are fixed. So yeah, what I basically want to say, that is why it is so normal for us to be in a relationship or want to be in a relationship. But what I do not like is that it gets put up there so much, because your youth, your teens, your adolescence is for forming your identity. That time is actually crucial because you do not know who you are. In your childhood, your parents probably always told you what to do. And the teens is the first time where you actually have like full moment, like the full access to experience yourself. And also the psychosocial momentum. It is from Erik Erikson's theory of psychosocial development. And the psychosocial momentum basically explains that you get to experience who you are without being a child, but without feeling the full-on pressure of adulthood. So you're basically in between childhood and adulthood. And that is actually the time where you should figure out yourself, where you should figure out who you even are, what you even want to do. And since we get socialized that way, that we think that relationships is the thing that we should strive for, we forget ourselves in this. And from myself, I was always that person that they described in the books that they were trending in my teens. So I was brunette, I did not wear makeup, and I was really shy and socially awkward, and I loved books. So this resonated with me. And I always hoped for that exact scenario. So I always thought that a relationship would have been my end goal. Like, I was prioritizing a relationship so much, and I got genuinely so insecure when I did not get attention from some kind of guy that, I'm so sorry, but that didn't even matter in my future, and that didn't even matter for the rest of my youth. And so it is really, really stupid. And I, for myself, since I got myself prioritizing all of that stuff, I went into my first relationship. It only lasted a month. When I was 15, I just turned 15 like a month ago, and I was way too young for this. Let's just say I was way too young, and I think I really got hurt in the process. And my boyfriend at the time, he said that I was boring a lot. Like, he said I was boring, that I had no personality, and that I only talk about school and teachers. And that may have been true, and I was really insecure about my personality at that time. But hearing something like that from the person that you were 100% committed to, since I was prioritizing it and I didn't even spend time on myself, I just made that person my entire universe, and then hearing stuff like that, it really hits you. And years after, like, genuinely, I carried a book with, I think, 30 handwritten pages filled with questions where I can start a conversation so that people think that I am interesting. Because for years and years, my biggest insecurity was that people think that I don't have a personality and that people would perceive me as boring, which is just so stupid, because that is what that time is for. You're meant to figure out who you are, and you're meant to not know at that time and maybe perceived as boring, etc. So what I basically say is, when you do not know who you are, you don't have certain boundaries, you do not know what kind of person would fit with you, what kind of person you see for yourself, so you just end up going for literally anything. Like, genuinely, every guy that showed me the least bit of attention, I considered myself lucky. I genuinely considered myself lucky with the bare minimum, because obviously I never was in a relationship, and obviously I did not even know what was normal for me, where my boundaries were. So it was honestly not the best time for me. And that is what I mean to warn you about, that if you prioritize a relationship, it can hurt you a lot. At least it hurt me a lot, and it did way more damage than good to me. And you have to figure out what you want in a person first, because otherwise, if you only want a relationship, you can be manipulated so easily, because you center that person in your life, and you can lose yourself in all of this. So that is basically what I want to warn you about. Hello, this is actually me editing this video, but I accidentally deleted what I wanted to edit, so I have to film this part on my own. And I can promise you, high school popularity does not matter. That is what it's all about. Because in that age, I feel like you're centered a lot. And first of all, there were two types of popular in high school. Like, there was like nice popular. There was a girl and everyone knew her, everyone liked her, but she still made time for everyone. Like, when I switched classes because of bullying and the other class was like more advanced, and I wanted to like reach my whole capabilities and stuff, I was like really shy, and I had like difficulties with making friendships, because all of these people were like in close bonds, and they were already friend groups and they all knew each other, and she went there because she knew everyone for me, and she introduced me to the people. When she was hanging out with them, she took me with them, and that is how I've got my friends that I still have gotten till this day. And till this day, I think back about her sometimes and I'm like, thank you, like really thank you. And she is a really kind person, and there were a lot of people like her as well. And I feel like people that are popular like that, I get really happy about them. I'm like, girl, you had, or maybe guy, you had every right to be popular, and I am so happy for you. I hope everything in life goes amazing for you, because you are a gem, literally. And then there's the second kind of popular, and the second kind of popular was kind of bullyish, let's just say that, because how do I even phrase it? They were people, they probably had problems at home or somewhere else, and they got ahead of themselves when they realized the school hierarchy that they had, and that they could literally get away with anything, and everybody supported them even though they were bullies or they were like incredibly rude. And these people made the lives of a lot of people really hard. So yeah, and that is what I'm basically telling you, because I promise you, as soon as I got out of school, no one cared on what step of the hierarchy ladder I was on. Like, nobody cares if I was popular or not. If you do a job interview, it won't matter. And even after school, everyone went their own paths. Some people went to university straight away. Some people did a gap year and then went to university. Some people did 2 or maybe even 3 gap years. Some people, I don't know, some people did an appraisalship. Like, we just move our ways and it won't even matter anymore. And there were people, like, especially talking about the people that were mean popular and bullies, there was one guy, and as I said, I do not want to harm him. I am over that, but I'm just like saying that as an analogy for you to not care about it anymore. But I remember a situation, we were all sitting in a circle I was 10 at the time, and the other ones were also 10 to 12 years old. And there was one other guy, and he said, yeah, Sophia, there's a reason why I could never be in a relationship with you at the age of 10, but I will not tell it because it would hurt you to the deepest. It would just like hurt you so much, it would devastate you. And obviously, since he said it, I was curious. I wanted to know, what is it about me that is like so completely wrong? And I did not like this guy. That is the thing. I did not want this guy in the first place, but obviously him saying that made me kind of curious, and I wanted to know, okay, what does he have to say about me that is horribly wrong? And then what basically happened was that he whispered it into the ear of all these people until it reached me, and all these people had to give it further. Like Stille Post, the game. I don't know what it's in English, I will probably put it somewhere. But what happened is that the last person told me, yeah, you're just ugly. And so he told everyone around, you're ugly, you're ugly, you're ugly. And there was this other guy in there that started jumping on it and calling me ugly at every single opportunity. And this guy was the most popular guy in class at the time. And genuinely, when I was like in the schoolyard brushing my hair because we had like photo day in school, he was like, yeah, you don't even need to brush your hair, you're ugly anyways. Or when I was trying different hairstyles, he once said, yeah, you will never get a boyfriend because you're ugly. And one time he was sitting in class behind me with another guy, and he was like, who do you like least in class? Like really loud, so that I obviously heard. And the other guy was like, yeah, I don't know. And he was like, yeah, I like Sophia the least because she's just ugly. And that stuck with me. And I constantly got called ugly throughout my school time. And I switched classes eventually because of all this bullying and all these situations. And then I heard stuff about him. Like, apparently he stole a lot of money. Like when we were on the schoolyard in breaks because we had to go outside, he went through all the bags and he stole money of these people. So he got kicked out of school, and he got kicked out of school before he could have reached any sort of school diploma. And he developed to have like such a bad drug problem that he had to go into like a drug rehab clinic. That's at least what I heard about, to figure out his drug problem. And that is what I mean. Like, I went on further with my life, and as I said, this happened when I was 10 years old. I'm over that. I do find me pretty, I do find me attractive, and I don't care what other people say about me. But back then, when I was a 10-year-old child, it obviously hurt me, and it obviously hurt that I got called ugly for 2 whole years of high school. What I basically mean to say is that people being like that, all these popular people that are horribly mean, they have a lot of troubles. That does not excuse anything, but they have a lot of troubles, and they will end up doing worse than you, as bad as it sounds. Like, he ended up in a rehab for drug addiction. Like, they have their own problems that they have to figure out, so they are projecting them onto you. This one is probably my favorite one. First of all, because it is genuinely so true. Second of all, it matches with this previous one. But you will outgrow your bullies. I can promise you, you will outgrow everyone who has ever been mean to you. Because first things first, let's understand the concept of a bully. Everybody probably knows the concept of a bully, but I'll just explain it just for the sake of it. But a bully is a person who, especially if it happens in teens and childhood, this is a person who probably gets abused at home or abused somewhere else, and they feel really dark inside. They feel heavy, and they have like so much of anger within themselves because they have to endure the anger that they get from other people. So they project it onto some other people. For example, in school, I was always known for being a nice person, but I was also like really insecure and socially awkward, shy. So I was like the perfect target for bullies. And the thing is, these people, they spot your weakness, they spot your insecurity, and they will jump right onto it, and they will make sure that you are feeling bad in that way. But what I can say is, if you are a person that gets bullied and you endure all of that, and maybe you are insecure, like you're scared to stand up, because often, let's be real, teachers ignore bullying. A lot of teachers actually ignore bullying, and a lot of teachers maybe even jumping onto that and making weird comments as well. I have actually witnessed teachers that made comments, like rude comments to students that were visibly getting bullied. So let's say that you maybe be scared to like talk to anyone or stand up for yourself, but even the fact that you get bullied and you endure that behavior and you don't bully back, you do not, like, you suffer a similar kind of abuse, you probably feel horrible when all of that happens, and you don't feel the need to bully anyone back and to hurt anyone back. That is strong. That genuinely speaks of inner security and maybe even confidence. Like, you are genuinely a strong person within yourself. And I feel like we do not tell these people a lot, because often you get told that you're weak and that you're unable to protect yourself or stand up for yourself. No, you're actually a strong person because you are not giving back what has been given to you, even though it is genuinely a horrible thing to do. You are already a bigger person in that. And as I said previously, as soon as high school ends or whatever you get bullied, as soon as the connection is cut, I promise you it is cut. Everyone will move on in their life, everyone will take their own path, and it varies so much from each other. You will not see these people again. And I can promise you, the thing that you got bullied for will be your biggest strength someday. The thing that I got bullied for the majority of the time was that I was like constantly crying about my grades. I was like really nerdy. I had like really good grades, and people were genuinely after every test, every exam, asking me how well I did, so just that they can be happy and like laughing and smiling if I would get a bad grade. Even like the concept of that. And that is why I was genuinely really depressed and really hurt in my high school years. I switched classes and then it became better. But in my high school years, I was genuinely really hurt by that. And it was so much pressure because I wanted to be good. I had fun in studying. I loved studying. And then there were people like genuinely preying on my downfall, like genuinely wanting me to fail so bad, laughing when I got a bad grade. So it was genuinely so much pressure that got put on me. But now I study psychology in Germany. Maybe you might bump into them sometimes, like maybe you bump into them on the streets, in a coffee shop, wherever, and I can promise you, you will bump into them when you're so high on yourself, when you're so confident, when you're so secure, and when you don't even care or think about that, and you'll be like, what? And when you see them again, I can promise you, you will get icked out, because lots of the times bullies, they stay the person that they are because it has always worked out for them being mean to other people, while you evolve, you move up, you, like, genuinely, the majority of my confidence was from people being mean to me. Like, you will genuinely grow into such a big person, and then you'll see them again and you'll be like, why did I idolize you? Why did I let myself be called names from you? Why did I strive for your approval while you were genuinely such a horrible person? And that realization honestly hits so deep, and it is like the best thing ever. I genuinely love when it happens. I genuinely love bumping into people from my past that did me rude or did me dirty, and then you just genuinely get so icked out. It's like genuinely the amount of ick that you get from them is crazy. Things not working out is actually the best thing that could happen to you, and that is honestly a bitter pill to swallow. Even now in my life, I have things that I question. I have things where I'm constantly like, okay, why does it have to be me? I never was a bad person. Why am I constantly getting punished? Like genuinely, I cried yesterday because one of those things, and I struggled so much to get out of bed. I scrolled for I think like 3 or 4 hours because I did not want to face and to deal with my own thoughts. Then I journaled and then I cried while journaling because then I finally dealt with my thoughts. So what I basically mean, even now, there are a lot of things where I'm just like, why me? Why am I constantly getting punished while other people get basic things so easily where I have to fight for it so much, and I'm sometimes like really tired of constantly having to fight for something, and I'm really lacking of motivation sometimes, because sometimes it feels like, oh my god, if other people are getting things so easily and I have to work so hard in them, why should I even try? And that is stupid. That is genuinely really, really dumb. But everyone lives life in a certain way. If you get born, you move on with life. Every person has their own package of, let's say, insecurities, failures, setbacks, goals, talents, gifts. Like everyone has their strengths and their weaknesses, and they have to deal with them. Everyone has some sort of trauma that they'll experience in their life, and they have to get over it and they have to make the best out of it. So life may be unfair, but life can be genuinely hard for everyone. And what is there on the surface is not what is there on the inside. People always make themselves look better than they actually are. Even now, when I'm sitting there, I appear so much better than I sometimes actually am. And when we sit on our phone, when we watch the media or something like that, people are always filming themselves when they feel good. People are always filming themselves when like there's only a section in their life. You don't see all. So what I basically want to say is, if everyone struggles, and especially for you, if things don't go the way you envisioned it, then it is just because it isn't meant to work as you envisioned it. And when do things actually work out the way that I wanted? I don't think they ever worked out the way that I wanted. I think they always worked out differently, but I was always really happy that they worked out differently, because they're like some things that you want, and honestly, things that I wanted so desperately, they would have destroyed me if I actually would have gotten them. Like back then in my teens, based on what I mentioned previously, I had a huge tendency for liking people that were sometimes kind of problematic, let's say that. And if I would have gotten into that relationship, let's say, it would have destroyed me. Like I would have no confidence. I'd be so insecure, and it would probably take years to get over what happened to me if that would have actually happened. So sometimes in that phase, it seems confusing. We're just like, why does it have to hurt so much? Why can't I just get what I want? But actually, it is amazing that you don't get what you want, because sometimes it is supposed to happen in a different way, or it is supposed to not happen at all. I always say, if one thing does not work out, it is either not the right time and I have to improve and evolve till I get it, or it is just not for me. And if it's not for me, it will be something better. Like that is the universal law. When you don't get something, then you get something better, because if something is not meant for you, then it is not meant for you, and sometimes you just have to live with that, and you have to chill and just accept it. And maybe it hurts in that moment, but I promise you, someday you will look back at it and you'll be like, thank God that I did not get it. Like genuinely, there are so many things, if I would have gotten them, they would be such a huge disrespect to myself. Like genuinely, I would have just abused myself if I would have gotten them and I wanted them so much, or I was just not capable enough in that time, and I genuinely wouldn't be able to stand the pressure from it. And later on, they were happening because I was already like a secure enough person to do it. Like, as I said, I always wanted a relationship and I never had a relationship. But the thing is, if I would have gotten into a relationship, especially with my toxic tendency that I had going on in that time, it would have destroyed me. And as soon as I started focusing on myself, a perfect person came into my life, and I was just like, thank God it was not the right time, because things are maybe happening later, or they will just get replaced. You are not on this earth to get punished. You are not here to endure with abuse or things not working out for you. I will promise you, things are working out for you, but it is confusing first. And I can promise you, the growth that you get from this is so much stronger than if your life would have always been like, got it. If your life would have always been like step to step on how you wanted it, you'd be such an immature person. You would not know what life is. You would not know what confidence is. You would not know your identity maybe. So genuinely, not having things that you want is the best thing that could happen to you. It's actually the biggest gift, because you learn, you grow so much, and someday you will have even bigger things and you will like, why was I thinking this small? And I can kind of imagine it like driving. Like, for example, if you drive and the Google Maps navigation, let's say, tells you where to go and you accidentally take a wrong turn, it redirects. You will get there eventually, but you will just go on a different journey. And this journey, you might be meeting people that will completely change your life. You might make experiences that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise, and you will maybe learn so much. So, as I said, life for me never works out the way that I envision it, but it is beautiful that it does not work out the way that I envision it, because I have so much growth from that. And growth is actually the biggest gift that you can give me, because leveling up myself as a person is genuinely better than any money or any job, any relationship that I could earn. Other people do not define your worth. That matches with the bullying and everything. But there are some people that might say some stuff about you, and for example, I always took it like so deeply, and I completely often changed myself, which is crazy to me when I think back. But people may say stuff about you, but as long as it isn't something that you can be improved from, and something that is like genuine critique that makes you be better in some sort of ways, it does not have to matter. Like, people often project insecurities onto you. We talked about that. And not everyone will find you funny, not everyone will find you attractive, but some people will do. And it is actually great to not take that seriously when other people say something about you, because then you will sort out people and you will find the right people. Because yeah, that is also why it is so important to have your own personality and your own persona. Obviously, Erikson's theory of psychosocial development is so old, but some things are actually true, and there's a lot of truth into this theory, that in your youth, you develop your identity, you develop who you are as a person. And obviously, development happens over life, and identity isn't fully developed once you are an adult. Identity develops through the entire span of life, but in your youth, you develop the core of who you be, and it is like really hard to change the core. So what you basically are is developing in that stage a lot. So just make sure that you spend a lot of time and effort into yourself, into hobbies, into who you are, whatever that may be. And once you know who you are, someone can say something to you. Someone can say, hey, Sophia, I don't think you're funny. I think you're stupid. I think you're hardworking and it never pays off. Whatever you can say, it will not affect me, because I know who I am. I have proof that what I'm doing is actually working. And so whenever somebody says something, it's just like, so what? So what? You don't find me attractive? Okay, my life moves on. The earth is still spinning. Like, you know? And that is basically what I want to tell you. When you reach, and I know it's very hard to reach in your teens because you're still so fragile in yourself, but once you reach a sense of level of confidence, someone could say literally everything. You'd be like, okay, so what? So what will I do with that? And that is such a strength for who you are as a person, because if I make myself dependent on whatever people say, even if they say nice things about me, I'd just be controlled by them. I'd honestly just be controlled by them. Oh, sorry, you like that outfit. Okay, let me wear it again for like 3 days in a row. Or, oh, you do think that I'm not funny. Okay, then let's change my entire concept of humor. Or you don't like my makeup. Okay, I will not wear makeup again. It just doesn't make sense. Some people may not like you. Some people may not be bonding with you, but other people will. And as long as you are embracing yourself, you will genuinely find these people.